Hello and welcome back to Homeschool Together. Ariel has a haircut and I had to run some
like
water
it, y'all?
through. I had a hat head all day. Guys, we're in second week of China. We had a great time. We focused pretty much the whole week on reading books and studying the Great Wall. And we did art projects, we watched videos, we read books.
We watched some movies.
We watched some movies and we studied Matt Damon's great period piece, The Great Wall. Very authentic.
So it's like so bad it's good.
But we didn't know that the Great Wall wasn't to keep out the northern, steppe tribes. It was actually to keep out monsters. Anyway, let's get to the book this week. You will be reading this for the next 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. We will be reading this. Is the Mulan Before the Sword.
Right.
So this would be, as I told Ariel, I think this story happens before the movie. And she looked at me and said, Before the Sword. I'm like,
I thought it was in the title, but
I just thought it was an alternate history. I'm thinking, wow, this Mulan story is really creative. It's really different. And where does this fit in the Mulan canon? And she's like, Before the Sword. And I'm like,
So I do know that, so this is by Grace Lin, who, if you read Year of the Dog in Around the World Study, she's a wonderful writer. So I do know that this recently went out of print. She had posted that they weren't going to be making this anymore, so you may have to pick this copy up used.
This is a very valuable copy then.
Yeah, right. No pictures in this book, just a chapter book. So we are like 20% of the way in.
Okay.
How are you feeling about it thus far?
Really good. So where I had criticism with the Aru Shah book, which we read during the Indus Civilization period,
which if you didn't watch, we had to down select to the
graphic novel.
Yeah, because we couldn't do the whole book.
Because a lot of times in these books, they're trying to put the culture into the book and teaching you things along the way. Grace does a wonderful job here, and it doesn't feel as heavy-handed as Aru Shah did, and we are really, really enjoying it.
So we'll give our full wrap
short,
up.
punchy, fast chapters. So, you think this is a 300-something page book.
Yeah, I think it is.
Those chapters move really quick. I know in the curriculum it's like 2 or 3 chapters, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, how many pages is this? It's like 2 or 3 pages per chapter. So really, really, really moves. So yeah.
I think we'll be finishing this up when we go into the Byzantine Empire. Is that right?
It goes all the way to the end.
Well, all the way to the end, all the way to the rise of Islam. Okay, So this is a long haul book, but we're really enjoying it so far.
Absolutely,
so,
it's been so good.
We'll give you the wrap up at the end.
But because we believe it's out of print now, we're going to give you a couple of recommendations if you can't get a hold of it and you want to read something else.
These aren't exactly live-in books, but our kids really enjoyed them.
So first one would be the Day of the Dragon King.
Right, this is a Magic Tree House. I'm not a giant fan of the Magic Tree House just because I find them hard. They're hard read alouds because they're really not meant to be read alouds.
Jack said, Annie said, Jack said, Annie said.
But this has been really fun with our daughter because she is a struggling reader and she's able to read like one chapter and then I read a chapter and then she reads one and I read one, and her confidence has grown significantly through this. So this is a good opportunity if you have a learner who can tag team read with you a little bit, or a learner who is ready to read this on their own. We know several friends at the same age as our daughter that could just read this book. So if you want to just hand a book to your kid, this would be a good one to do. It's really fun. It's about the first emperor, right?
Yeah. So this is the emperor who I think believed he did the Terracotta Warriors, and he also started the Great Wall. Well, the more solid version of the Great Wall. Let's see, it's Qin Shah Huangdi, I think it is.
We're sorry.
I'm sorry.
That was our best attempt.
No, it's like the first emperor, Shah Huangdi, and it's Qin, and that's his name, and he changes anyway.
We're sorry.
I tried.
We tried. So this is a good option if you want something for your learner to read or to tag team read.
There's another one that we thought was related to China that's called the Red Dawn or something like that. If you see it, it's actually Japan. So it kind of looks, it has that feel.
It's ancient Japan, isn't it?
It's ancient, early Japan. Yeah.
So if you do want to add in into ancient China and kind of talk about ancient Japan and things too, then you could also read that one. I'll link it in the show notes because it wasn't China. Our daughter was super excited. There were 2 Magic Tree House books about China, and we're like, oh no, this is Japan actually.
This one's Japan. Greetings from Somewhere, The Mystery in the Forbidden City. Now, this is not ancient China, but it is China related. So
right.
Tangentially, we've recommended these books in the past, and what's cool about it is these are 2 homeschoolers, and so if you're kind of blending with the homeschool, it's kind of a nice little twist.
We read these in our Around the World study. They're not like amazing, But our daughter loves them. They're, a couple of kids solving a mystery. They're in the Forbidden City. And, because of that, we thought this would be fun to mention as just another fun alternative book.
If you're looking for another read.
It's not super deep, but a fun one.
Absolutely. Going along with the Great Wall study, we have this Blast Back. We have recommended these, I think, a couple times now through the Ancient Civilizations. This one is specifically on the history of the Great Wall, taking you from early ancient China all the way up to its more modern incantation and discovery and evolution of part of the archaeology of the wall itself. So it takes you through the whole history of the wall. This was wonderful. I love this as kind of like a weekly spine. You can read this book in one sitting, maybe 15, 20 minutes if you're reading pretty quick.
Yeah, it looks pretty fast.
It's fairly straightforward, fairly quick read. But if you want to kind of like expand on like the Great Wall, I love this book. This was wonderful, kind of just great starting point, and just gave you all the history. Talked about ancient China, talked about more modern China, kind of the middle period from like maybe the 400 to 1600 time period as well. So it covers the whole expanse. So it's not obviously not all ancient China, but I love this book. This gave you the whole picture, and I think it was like right on point with that kind of first grade, second grade reading level. If you have an early reader, kind of an emerging reader, this is another book they could actually read along with you. Great recommendation here.
Yeah, we really like the Blast Back series, and I like this focus just on the Great Wall. That was kind of our whole focus for the week, really, was the Great Wall. We'll save the Terracotta Warriors for next week.
Yes.
We kind of dove into the Great Wall, so this book was perfect. And we have one more.
One more. You wouldn't want to be.
You knew it, you guys.
On the Great Wall of China.
You knew you were going to recommend one of these.
You wouldn't want to work on it. Yeah. This
like every other video, we're like, you wouldn't want to be whatever. In fact, there's a lot of things in history you wouldn't have wanted to do, is what we're learning.
I think the rule is you wouldn't have wanted to live back then, just in general.
In general, life was rough, especially rough for the folks who built things and served in armies and all that kind of stuff.
So I read this. What I like to do if you're trying to pair a Blast Back with kind of a you wouldn't want book, I would go to the Blast Back first and then come here. I wouldn't go here then to the Blasted Back.
But you want to start with sarcasm?
No. I want to end with the sarcasm. But I started there and I finished here, and it felt really good. And she had a nice understanding of the wall at that point.
Yeah, I think this is a good one.
So you recommend you pull the Magic Treehouse book.
Oh,
so
right, yeah.
We went ahead and pulled a nice little picture of the guy. Yes, it's I think it's a famous piece of art that they have of kind of like a period of like a drawing of him. So this is the guy who Terracotta Warriors. This is Chin. This is the guy you'll read about him multiple times in the Story Quest, History Quest. I always get it wrong. History Quest, and so we did a little bit of a coloring page on that. So it was a lot of fun there.
Yep.
Then we went ahead and did some arts and crafts, and normally we do some coloring stuff. Sometimes we do some crafts, and we went ahead and got out the blue air clay. This is the 4-year-old's Great Wall of China. Kind of small, petite.
We went to the store and bought air clay. Didn't realize it was blue.
It says blue on the outside. It's total driver error. And then our older one went ahead and did a wall. So the big thing that we focused on was like how it kind of snakes through the landscape. And we talked about the little turrets that they had along the way, and how it was kind of a sunken wall so people could walk and ride. And at some places they were so wide that you could have, like, I think they said 5 carts could drive on it and everything. So it was really cool. So we went ahead and spent about a half hour or so making a Great Wall.
Right, yeah, and the Great Wall, I mean, let's clarify a little bit. At this time period in ancient China, it was an earthen wall. It wasn't the Great Wall as we know it now.
It was an earthen wall, and it began to become, during this time period, they started making
construction.
More robust elements of it in certain areas. And eventually, over time, it stretched the whole 5,500 miles, whatever it ended up being.
And see it from space.
Yeah, totally. And so eventually it became that. But at this time, you're right. In early ancient China, it was more of an earthen wall, but it started to become more of a robust thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was kind of this evolution. We did also watch some media as well. There's a nice TEDx video about the history of the Great Wall, as well as a Nat Geo documentary, kind of like the hidden cool features of it. It's about 45 minutes long. So if you want to jump into that, that's an option as well. So always love the National Geographic videos. They're always...
the TED Ed videos are also fantastic.
The animated TED Ed videos are just awesome. If you ever run into anything that you want to learn about that has kind of a historical significance, they pretty much have a TED Ed video on it. And the animations are great. And they're always about 4 or 5 minutes long.
Yeah, they're short. I think they're really well suited. They pack a lot of information into a short video.
We also finished the Mulan 2. This is the car schooling element of the last 2 weeks.
I listened to Mulan 2 as I was driving our children.
Yeah, you finished it.
Yeah, I was driving our children up to Grandma and Grandpa's. So I listened to that because they did Mulan 1 last week. They did Mulan 2 this week.
We've seen the Mulan movie so many times, so I was like, I don't want to watch this again. But I just put it onto the minivan and put it on the DVD player and let them watch 10, 15, 20-minute chunks here and there. So
then last night we watched The Monkey King, which
is new.
It's new on Netflix, and you'll read about the Monkey King and how and that he is trapped in a mountain, and this is the story leading up to how he became trapped in the mountain.
Very cool.
I'd say mixed for me.
It sounded really sarcastic.
Yeah, there was a lot of it was sarcastic, and I thought it had some really neat elements. It had some kind of weird elements. I didn't see anything. I was cooking dinner for part of the time, confession. But I listened and then I watched the last half, and I didn't see anything that was inappropriate in it. It was just, and our girls loved it. So I think
that's the bar that you have to cross.
It's an interesting choice if you're really looking for an extra movie. I would watch that maybe over Mulan 2 because, Mulan 2 is a little not quite as good as regular Mulan. Or you could watch the live action Mulan, which would also be fun. And you can see all of I want to call it like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Mulan because there's a lot of like
rope work and string work,
crazy jumps and leaps and things like that. But anyway, it's also very fun if you want to do that, especially as you're reading through the Mulan book. That could be kind of fun. So I think The Monkey King for us gets kind of a mixed review. Tons of action. If you have a child who loves action, I think The Monkey King might be really well suited for that.
Animation was really good too.
The animation was great. Our older daughter is not as big into the action, but our younger daughter is all about action movies, and she was like completely hooked on all of the fighting sequences and all that stuff. So a little mixed for us, but not a bad choice overall. So I think that was kind of it for the week, right?
That was it for the week, and then we're going to continue on next week with the second half of Ancient China, or the second half of this 2-week period. In the curriculum, they actually stretch out the History Quest reading across these 2 weeks. So normally when that happens, we kind of say, well, maybe you can combine it. We really just filled it up with a lot of Great Wall stuff. So normally we would say, hey, you can combine those kind of stretched weeks because there's just not as much going on. We just happen to fill it up. So it's up to you. Yeah,
whatever works for your family. Next week we'll go on and we're going to talk all about the Terracotta Warriors
and maybe a little bit more. And I think there's some mythology books that we might have left off, so we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about those as well.
Yeah, so stay tuned.